Well, let's kick off by just getting our definition of terms um, in sync. What is a team? What do we define as a team? Well, we can we can look at a team as opposed to a group of people. A group of people is generally a collection of individuals. So people waiting for the bus or waiting for the train, um, perhaps don't know each other, don't really care for each other, and we would look at that um, collection of individuals and we'll say that's a group of people waiting for the bus or a group of people waiting for um, the train. When we think about teams, we start to add additional characteristics to that group. So, generally, when we think about a team, we're thinking about a group of people who have come together for a common purpose. So, if we think about sporting teams, we think about your favorite sporting team, they're together because they're trying to win a game or win the premiership or whatever their goal is. If we think about a work team, we're thinking about the same type of thing, people who have a common purpose, which hopefully aligns with the business purpose. So, um, the difference between a group of people and a team is this idea of people working together for a common purpose. Well, I probably should be a bit more specific. A team is really working together for a common purpose. And then as we start to go up the scale of effectiveness, we start to see things like working together to achieve that purpose. So that's really what we're going to unpack as we go through this unit. So if I look at different types of teams, or the concept of working within a team, if I can just step back for a minute, the concept of working within a team is is multidimensional. So if we take our role within the organization, we probably, if we're in a leadership and management role, say at an operational level or frontline management level, we're probably part of our manager's team. So we're part of someone else's team. And our manager might be, say, the branch manager. And then our branch manager is part of their manager's team. So they're probably part of, say, the divisional team. And then we're all part of the divisional team. So we're all part of the broader divisional um, team. And then we're also part of the broader organizational team. So from our level up, you can see that we're already part of multiple teams. And each of those teams have different objectives. So our branch has a different objective to our, say, a division has a different uh, objective to the organization. Hopefully, all those objectives will line up and they'll dovetail into each other. But the actual um, how they manifest themselves will be quite different. If we look from our position, say down the organization, we probably, hopefully, we're leading a team. So people within our team are working as part of our team, but there may also be people within our team who work across multiple teams. So they might be working on side projects, so they're part of a different project team. They might be they might actually be working in our team on a part-time basis, so they might do point two with us, they might do point two with someone else and point two with somebody else, working across multiple teams. So and we may have a number of people within our team like that. So we end up having this idea of either matrix teams where you've got individuals that work across a number of different teams, and that might be um, people within our team working across multiple teams. We've also got people that may work on special committees, say workplace health and safety committee or a review committee. We may have people working on problem solving teams. Maybe they're also, as part of their regular duties, they're also part of the quality assurance team or quality control team. So we have multiple teams within an organization, and ourselves or people within our team can wear multiple hats in terms of different teams. So it's not necessarily, when we think about this idea of um, workplace dynamics, we're not necessarily thinking about one team or one person working within one team and that's it. It may be that we're working within multiple teams. And that's really important to be aware of, because each of those teams, as we go through and unpack what's an effective team, each of those teams will have their own unique characteristics. They will have their own objectives, they'll have their own purpose. They'll have their own culture, norms of rules, of behaviors, ways to do things. Hopefully, ideally, they're all complementing each other. So ideally, hopefully, we're all working towards the same common purpose, and our goals complement each other's goals when we think about different teams. Our culture is underpinned by an overall value system. So for the organization, the broader organization has some strong uh, values. And if we talk about the public service, there's some, the APS values and code of conduct. If we talk about private sector, the organization's um, core values and codes of behavior or codes of conduct. Hopefully, these are all in sync with each other. They're all complementing each other. And as you move from one team to another, you're only really dealing with nuances rather than wholesale changes. But that's not always the case. It can, as organizations go through different stages, whether it's say significant change or significant impact of change of personnel or change of operation or change of legislation or whatever the case may be, sometimes you get fragmentation within that. And if you're working in multiple teams, it's really important to understand the differences each team will have around that. And that also works for not only ourselves when we work across multiple teams, but also when we look at our teams and we think about some of our team members, and if our team members are working in multiple teams across the organization, being highly conscious of the fact that each team might have different culture, might have different goals, might have different objectives, and we have to make sure that when they're working within our team, that we're providing a really robust environment in which uh, that effective teamwork can flourish. So I'll come through that. I'll come back to that as we work through this idea of building effective teams and so forth. So when we think about the characteristics of a high performance team, we're generally thinking about these characteristics, and this is what the purpose of this whole unit and this video will be to talk through these and discuss how we can, as managers and leaders, facilitate this. But when we look at our example of a high performance team, and you might have a team in mind, say it might be a sporting team or a work team or some type of uh, uh, personal interest team. If you look at a high performance team and you try and unpack what it is that makes them high performance versus just a regular performing team, you'll probably identify many of these characteristics. High performance teams will have a clear goal and a clear vision. So they'll have a big picture in mind. They'll be very clear, and everyone will have the same big picture in mind. And they'll have very clear understanding of what their purpose is within that, and how it is that they're coordinating all their efforts towards the overall goal. So you have this clear vision, this clear goal, and this clear understanding of what I need to do to achieve that and how that coordinates with everybody else in the team. So as part of that, a high performance team will also have the right mix of skills, personalities, of attributes, of characteristics, and we'll unpack that as we talk about Belbins and so forth. So if that's the fundamental aspect of a high performance team, is that everyone's really clear about what we're doing here, what's my role within that, and what's everybody else's role and how can I support that. We'll also identify certain characteristics about commitment. So a high performance team, not only will people know what they're doing and how they can contribute to that, but they'll also be highly committed to it. So they'll have this sense of, yeah, I think this is a really worthwhile endeavor and I'm highly committed to doing that. So you have this sense of commitment to the vision and the goal, but you also have this sense of commitment to each other. So they'll look at, in a high performance team, they'll look around at their other colleagues and they will be committed to ensuring that they're successful as well. And this is the belief or understanding that for me to be successful, I need everybody else in the team to be successful. We're only as strong as the weakest link is a common phrase that's used. And it's true in a sense of teamwork. If you've ever played any team sports, you know that if you want to perform at your highest, you need everybody in the team to perform at their best. So that means not only do I have my own self-interest in mind, but I've also got your interest in mind because I need you to do your best so I can do my best. And this is the idea of not only committed, that effective teams, not only are people committed to their own goals and objectives, but they're also committed to everybody else achieving theirs. So, as part of that, in a high performance team, you'll see that people will be clear about their expectations. They'll know how they're going to be monitored and measured, and hopefully they'll be doing that themselves. They're not reliant on us as leaders and managers to do that. But they'll also be clear about expectations of other people within the organization. So, their colleagues, for example, other people within the team. They'll have the resources to be able to do their job. They'll, for example, have the tools, they'll have the appropriate requirements in time, they'll have the right training and so forth. They'll, as I was alluding to before, they'll professionally be concerned for one another, so they'll want to make sure that everybody is at their optimum as well. So not just me, but everybody else, because this idea that for us to perform, we need everybody to perform. And in a high performance team, you'll find that people are confident in their own ability and they're confident in other people's ability. And this is really critical because trust is an essential element within a high performance team. So for us to be at our peak, when I pass on a task to you, or when you say I'll do this task, Tony, I need to have full confidence and trust that you're going to do it. Because if I don't, then I'll be following up on your work, I'll be checking in on you, and that's going to all those bits and pieces, all those additional actions, um, all those type of things um, will reduce your effectiveness. So it'll reduce your productivity because it's wasting your time doing that stuff, but it also undermines confidence. So you sort of get into this spiral where people feel like you don't trust them and so forth and so forth. So when we think about high performance teams, so if you've got in your mind's eye, you've got a high performance team you're thinking about, be it sporting or workplace, you're probably starting to identify many of these characteristics that I'm talking about. Okay, so high performance teams, not only do they have the resources and the tools to be able to do the job, not only do they have the right skill mix, but they all have high buy-in and high commitment to what it is that the organization and the team is doing, and they're all really committed to that and so forth. So what we're going to go through in this unit, particularly as we unpack some of the key topics, some of these themes will keep coming back. As an effective leader and a manager, we want to facilitate an environment where everybody has a clear understanding of the vision, the mission, and the team objectives. So what's our purpose and what are our goals? We want to work with our teams to develop KRAs, key result areas, and KPIs, key performance indicators. I know we've already talked about these in the planning unit. Uh, you'll want to, as a leader and a manager, you'll want to be developing those with your people in consultation to ensure that everybody's energy is focused in the same direction. So as part of that, we'll sit down with our teams and individuals, and we'll develop performance plans. Now, depending on the nature of our work, that might be quite formal documentation or documented plans, or if it's a smaller and more agile and constantly changing team, we might be more less rigid in terms of the formality of our performance plans and more flexible in our approach, but still undertaking those principles. And we'll talk more about those as we go through this unit. We'll set clear responsibilities and accountability so everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing and how they're going to be held accountable for that and what support is available if they require it. We need to be able to provide people with feedback, which is going to let them know when they're doing things right And it's also going to let them know when they can do things differently to be better at it. And as part of that, it'll be consultative. So we'll bring them into those discussions, into problem solving, into solution creating, and so forth. We're going to share decision making and control. So we're going to create an environment where we empower our team members so that they don't rely on us as managers to make every decision for them. They've got a scope of responsibility. They feel confident in their ability to do their job because we've provided the support and the training and the tools. And they can start to make these decisions within their scope, and they can have far more control, which will make them more responsive, will give them greater buy-in and ownership into their role, and stronger commitment to the team and the organization. And as part of that, encouraging cooperation for them to do that with their teammates. So this is our role as a leader and an effective manager, is to facilitate these things, to make these things happen so that our team can do their best. And I come back to this idea of service leadership. You know, our role as leaders and managers in a contemporary work environment is where we really are the enablers for our team. You know, they've got jobs they've got to do, they've got responsibilities they need to execute, and our role as a leader and manager is to do what we can to ensure that they can do their best. Because if they can do their best, well, then we're going to do our best as a leader and manager.